this is Vicki Jervickas at the Greater Gainesville Chamber, and we are doing our annual candidate interviews for elections. And upcoming is the Gainesville City Commission election set for March 16th. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Gabriel Hillel, who is a candidate for the at-large seat for the City Commission. Gabriel, hello.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I want to say at the outset, and some of it may sound conceited, which it is, this election was called by me. Nobody except me anticipated the election, and it was assumed that the two incumbents would be elected or move forward without an election. I don't want to disparage Desmond Walker, who is a friend of mine, but I don't think she would have run if I hadn't run. So I've complicated it for a deliberate, peculiar reason. And that is the last time I ran was a shock to me, both in the support that the winning candidate got and in the lack of support for a incumbent two-term African-American retired university professor or employee who lost by 20 percentage points. And you don't think you're a racist city. I couldn't deal with that. Plus the fact that the particular candidate who defeated it was, to my mind, clearly anti-Semitic. She would not deal with me. She wouldn't talk to me. She wouldn't sit when we sat next to each other by the table. At any rate, I went specifically this time to find out, am I living in a normal university town, which I've known for most of my 85 years, including Wisconsin, Chapel Hill, Ann Arbor mostly, Nashville, Vanderbilt, not public in that case? Or am I in a Christian community, a Christian public university? That to me is frightening, especially, and that gets back to my objection to the election format. We can't discuss this. I couldn't discuss this last time. When I try to raise it at one forum by criticizing Seiko, or at least asking her, Rena Seiko, to explain her membership in something called the Students for Justice in Palestine, she not only didn't answer, but the problem was that I said, look, I'm sympathetic with you. I'm an anti-Zionist. I'm a Jew, but I'm secular. I'm anti-Zionist. But please tell me, are you just against, Israelis, or are you against all Jews? Never answered. This is incredible. And in fact, as I say, she was supported by every single forum we went to, except the one in the Black community, which obviously supported Sherwin Hayes. Makes no sense to me. And so I wanted to find out this time, are we dealing with a real problem of anti-Semitism in this community? Are we dealing with a city commission that's all, not only that it's all Democratic, but that every other the Board of Education and the County Commission all have loyal Democrats? Is this an accident? Because the problem is, I'm very concerned about our very conservative congressperson, where, yes, we're in a district that's gerrymandered, but hey, let's be reasonable. We've got to interact instead of being on our own trip. If you read the Gainesville Sun regularly, you find constant attacks about dark money going to GOP. They can yell and scream about Keith Perry all they want. He's going to win. And I don't get it. I mean, the point is that what we want desperately on a national level, we should want on a local level. That is bipartisanship, conversing among different elements of the community. I'm shut out. You may not know, Vicki. Nathan Crabb in 2016 has forbidden me he won't publish anything I write as an essay or as a letter. He's tired of whatever. For literally 20 years before that, I wrote 3, 4, 5 a letter, whatever, without stop for him and for everybody else. Why that policy changed, I'm not sure. What I do know, and what I also object to, but you can't do anything here, Gainesville for All is a dangerous organization. You can't have.
Well, that was great for an introduction. You've kind of used up your time to tell everyone why you're running, so that's wonderful. How about now we go into the 5 questions that will address some of the issues that our members and others in the community are interested in, and then you will have a opportunity to give a closing. So the first question is, what do you perceive are the 3 most important concerns facing Gainesville, and what would be your top priorities if elected?
So I think everybody's main concern is so-called affordable housing. And I have no solution for it, which is definitely the problem. The other issues that I think could be, number one, this is where I have to digress. The government is not run the way its laws are set up. It is supposed to be a manager council form of government. You may not know it, but there is a provision that deals with interference with charter officers. It's a misdemeanor for commissioners to talk to any employee other than charter officers. This is not only ignored, but the opposite is true. We now have a city manager who's, all I can talk about is the tail wagging with all kinds of things. They use him as a gopher. He has no real power. The EO director, who's a charter officer, doesn't have a clue what that means. The auditor who replaced a very excellent auditor has not been heard of since she was appointed. You've got GRU, which is on its own trip. GRU as a charter office has always been problematic. The city clerk, we went, I don't know if you're old enough, Vicky, but Kurt Lannon, who was there since 1993, retired in 2018. It was a pleasure. This kid, and I don't know how else to describe it, who was barely a secretary, she's a sweet person. She's not a charter officer, the idea that she is. So what you've got is suddenly the elected officials taking power that they never had. And so what I'm saying is things like affordable housing and the like would have to be dealt with on a charter level. How do we do it? How do we administer it, so to speak? And so the general philosophy of it, okay, I've said affordable housing. I would have to say that the other main thing is coming to terms with the University of Florida. We have a fake Friendship 7, which is nonsense. The university is so separate from the community, it's impossible. Community hates the youth students, by the way. You go to, sessions and, oh, I don't want them moving in our neighborhood. We'll have noise, music. What? I lived in college. I never heard that kind of split before. I understand not in my backyard, but not like we've got it here.
Okay, all right, I hear that. On our second question, ways to revitalize downtown have been debated for years now.
I'm sorry. Oh, hold on, Vicky, I didn't hear it.
Okay, I'll start again. Ways to revitalize our downtown have been debated for years. Presuming we begin the new normal following the pandemic this summer, what actions would you like to see to jumpstart the effort to revitalize our downtown?
I think we've got to call together a meeting of landlords of the buildings involved. And at the very least, we've got to persuade them that they've got to put up a facade, that otherwise we're not talking about a real town at all. The worst for me, because I loved it for years, is Miliano's. I mean, to look at it, not Miliano's dark on that corner when you've got Harry brightly lit up on the other side. And then if you go to the other side of University Avenue, it's always been a travesty. But the main thing is need a facade. The one place that definitely has to change, and I can't believe, especially you as the chamber, haven't done anything about it, is that visitors bureau on the corner. It's atrocious. You could just decorate the window or at least clean it every once in a while. At any rate, that's what I would do. That clearly the rates are too high for people who have been living there. If they can't be lowered, we'll have to adjust that, because at the same time, they're not getting replacement clients. So I don't, or late replacement tenants. So I don't get the idea.
Okay. All right. Our third question is, a national conversation around diversity and inclusion has been at the forefront over this past year. What do you believe would be the single most impactful action our community could take to increase equity locally?
The community can't do anything. The city has to do that. And the city has to do that the way it was, the charter office was created in 2004. Okay, it's been a farce ever since. they have certain obligations that would be clear. Number one, this attempt to change the name, which all of the commissioners accept, is bizarre. You can't do it. It's a charter office. It's equal opportunity. Forget this inclusion. Forget. I've got so many headlines from Gainesville Sun with the word equity and the other word disparity. Those are the two favorites. Forget it. What you've got to do is chunk it down, and as a city, focus on where is discrimination. Number two, how do you get contracts out to minorities, women, et cetera? It's been insoluble. I don't know why. How do you get participation in all kinds of matters related to the city by Africa? How do you not include the VA? That's the third largest after, third or whatever. How do you exclude, that? The VA can make such a difference. One little thing is I'm military service compensated because of hearing loss. They don't really have an organized system in the chamber to have it ordered, and they certainly never invited a VA. I'd come on campus to say, hey, come down to the city hall meeting. What is this student government sitting there and we're sitting here in two different worlds? We got to bring the university and the students together, at the university and the city together.
Okay, all righty. Next question. Despite efforts to increase pedestrian safety and reduce aggressive panhandling, concern remains high. What would be your approach to help solve this problem?
Set up a place somewhere where this can be done lawfully. They won't get as much money, but just the fact that it can be centralized, maybe even on the square, on Bo Diddley Square. Though I have other ideas what I would want to do with that, but what I'm saying is at least kind of legitimize it, but get it off the medians, all right? I mean, especially, I haven't felt a wiper in a long time, but if they're still around, okay. The other folks, they're just a danger. Everybody, including themselves, obviously. I don't know if there's been any accident. But the only thing I won't accept is if the real answer that we're sweeping them away is because they're unsightly, which I suspect may be a large part of the answer, then I've got a problem. I have no real answer for it.
Okay. All right. And our final question is, why should members of the business community support you?
They shouldn't. I'm not running in that way. I want the business community. No, that's a good point, though. I want the business community to hold Gail accountable. She is absolutely, of all the people on the commission, she's the least accountable. Now, what she's there for is what scares me. You know, I put that in writing today. I believe the next mayor will be Harvey Ward, and he will run that place any which way he wants to run it, which I fear greatly. But short of that, what I'm saying very clearly, that the business community needs to, you're not there. You should have a representative at every city council meeting. You know what was going on. As a matter of fact, I don't know why that's not done.
I will jump in here. We actually do monitor almost every meeting. We are
No,
very
no. Listen to me, Vicki. No, I'm not. That's what words of report.
Okay.
It's not monitor. It's that you're there visibly in their face. You're sitting there monitoring it in the end.
So anyway, this would then be your opportunity to give your closing statement and any additional remarks that you would like to make that we didn't cover yet.
I really appreciate this opportunity, Vicki. It turned out to be much better than I thought. It's also helped me to clarify some of my thoughts. I think it's important as the university increases in rank, at some point, somebody in the city has got to recognize that wherever the university is ranking, the city can't come close to matching it in its current shape. These are small-minded people. I don't know how to bluntly put it. You're dealing with the mayor seriously, who has made such mistakes as lauding the Simpson takeoff on Gainesville being Dullsville. The guy makes a mistake of talking about Antifa being a good thing. He calls somebody a gringo, doesn't understand his mistakes. Well, I tell you, from a chamber point of view, you cannot have, sorry, my phone's ringing, I'll ignore it. You cannot have this kind of small town atmosphere. Adding to Christianity, I'm more trouble. That if this university, let's say, finds up #1 public university in the land, it's going to look ludicrous. Okay, because it's going to come down to a sense that Jews aren't welcome here, Muslims aren't welcome here, people other than Christians, and you may think you're welcoming us. And as I said, for the first, certainly between 92 and 2004, I was in heaven. Okay, I had some problems legally or whatever, bringing me to 2015. But somewhere around 2015, which is why I also hold Gainesville for all really accountable in a bad way. Sometime around then, the community lost touch with me, not that I lost touch with the community. And my concern is, and I'm speaking as a Jew, and I would tell you till 2015, when my life partner who wasn't Jewish passed, I never thought of myself one way or the other. It was never an issue. The last 12, since the pandemic, but unrelated to it. I'm obsessed. Are you people kidding? You're racist. You stop Henry and you won't even ask yourself for 2 minutes, why did we do that? How did we do that? Oh no, we think the best cat. Well, you can't do that nationwide. And another thing, I mean, I've been antagonistic in Florida from day one. The Orlando Sentinel published 95 articles about me in the 4 years, mostly naked. The point is, Gainesville figured out a way to not publish anything about me, which means they don't want to discuss or recognize who or what I am. You can't do that. You can't then have a book club where you invite, a very well-known Black man who is clearly a separatist post and talk to him like he's an integrationist. You can't do that in a major university. And that's why I've written today to Ken Fuchs, because I hold him partly responsible, to have a dialogue with the community that, to me, Bernie Machen, whatever else he was much more personable and interactive with the community. If you know Ken Fuchs, you certainly know him better than I do. I have not seen him since he's been in the city, literally. And his poultry, writings in the Alligator really suffer greatly in terms of what he's trying to say. We've got to get away from inclusivity and disparity, et cetera. Get down to nouns, get down to verbs. Stop using what politically, and this I really fault my opponent. Stop using glittering generalities. I've never seen that propaganda technique was developed, in World War II in the United States, obviously elsewhere earlier, to try to boost the morale. But it's not facts. It's not substance.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And we just want to remind everyone that the election is Tuesday, March 16th. Early voting
begins. Don't forget to vote for Gail Johnson. Vote for Gail Johnson. I'm serious. We need a turnout. I'm not asking because I'm not running. Okay.
We are very much supportive of a big turnout. So hopefully we will get that. And a reminder that early voting starts Friday, March 5th.
Vicki,
thank you so much.